I was making coffee when my daughter called that Tuesday morning. Her voice sounded cheerful, excited even, and I smiled as I answered. We chatted about nothing for a moment before I asked the question that had been on my mind for weeks. "So, honey, have you and Jason set a date yet?" There was a pause, then laughter. "Oh, Dad, we got married yesterday." The words didn't register at first. Then they hit me like a freight train. "It was perfect," she continued. "Just a small ceremony, just for special people, special people." I stood frozen in my kitchen, the phone pressed to my ear. My only daughter had gotten married without me. My name is Stuart, and I'm 64 years old. I spent 37 years teaching history at Lincoln High School here in Greenfield, Ohio, a town of about 8,000 people, where everybody knows everybody else's business. I retired 3 years ago, and I live alone in the same 2-story house I bought with my late wife Sarah back in 1989. The house isn't much to look at from the outside, just a simple white colonial with green shutters and a front porch that needs repainting, but it's been home for 36 years. Sarah died 12 years ago from breast cancer. She was only 52. Emma, our daughter, was just 16 at the time, a junior in high school. Watching Sarah deteriorate over those 18 months was the hardest thing I've ever done, but watching Emma lose her mother was even worse. After Sarah's funeral, I made a promise standing at that graveside. I would be both parents for Emma. I would make sure she had everything she needed to succeed in life, and I kept that promise. I worked extra hours tutoring students after school, teaching SAT prep courses on weekends, running summer school sessions. Every extra dollar went into Emma's college fund. When she got accepted to Ohio State University, I was so proud I cried. The tuition was steep, even with her partial scholarship, but I made it work. I sold my vintage car collection, 4 cars I'd been restoring since my 20s. That brought in $32,000. It hurt to see those cars go, especially the '67 Mustang I'd planned to give Emma someday. But her education mattered more than my hobby. Emma thrived at Ohio State. She called home twice a week, came home most weekends during her freshman year. We had our routine. Sunday dinners at 5 o'clock sharp. I'd make Sarah's pot roast recipe, and Emma would make the apple pie. We'd eat and talk for hours. She told me about her classes, her friends, her dreams. I told her stories about Sarah, about our early years together, about the day Emma was born. Those Sundays were sacred to both of us. After she graduated with a degree in marketing, she got a job at a firm in Columbus, about an hour away. She moved into an apartment there but still came home most Sundays. I was so proud of her. She was smart, capable, independent, everything Sarah and I had hoped she'd become. I taught her to drive in the parking lot of the high school. I helped her through her first heartbreak when Bobby Henderson dumped her before senior prom. I cheered at every soccer game, every school play, every award ceremony. Being Emma's father was the greatest achievement of my life. Last year, she started dating Jason. She brought him to Sunday dinner one afternoon in March. He was 30 years old, 3 years older than Emma, and worked as a software developer for some tech company in Columbus. He wore expensive clothes, drove a new BMW, and talked a lot about cryptocurrency and investment portfolios. He was polite enough, shaking my hand firmly and calling me sir, but something about him felt off to me. He barely looked at the family photos on the walls. He checked his phone during dinner. When I asked him about his family, he gave short answers. His parents lived in California. His father owned vineyards in Napa Valley. They were comfortable, he said with a slight smile. Emma seemed happy with him, though, and that's what mattered to me. She smiled more than I'd seen her smile in years. She laughed at his jokes. She looked at him the way Sarah used to look at me. So I pushed down my reservations and decided to trust her judgment. She was 27 years old, a grown woman capable of making her own decisions. 3 months ago, things started changing. Emma canceled our Sunday dinner. She said she had a work project that couldn't wait. The next week, she canceled again. A migraine this time. The third week, she came but seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly. When I asked if everything was okay, she said she was just stressed about work. Her firm was demanding, lots of pressure to bring in new clients. 2 months ago, she called me on a Wednesday evening, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Dad?" Jason proposed. I felt my heart swell with joy. My little girl was getting married. We talked for over an hour about the proposal. Had taken her to Hocking Hills, to the spot where we used to camp when she was little. Had gotten down on one knee at sunset. The ring was beautiful, a 2-carat diamond that must have cost a fortune. "When are you thinking?" I asked. "For the wedding? We're not sure yet," she said. "We want something intimate, maybe next spring." "Well, whatever you need, honey. I'm here to help," I told her. "I've been setting aside some money." "Dad, you don't have to do that. I want to. You're my daughter. This is important." She was quiet for a moment. "Thanks, Dad. That means a lot." But after that conversation, she became even more distant. She canceled the next 4 Sunday dinners in a row. Her phone calls became shorter, her texts more infrequent. When I tried calling her, she often didn't answer. She'd text back hours later saying she'd been busy. I told myself it was normal. She was planning a wedding, working full-time, building a life with Jason. Of course, she was busy. Last Monday, exactly 1 week ago, I finally got through to her. "Emma, honey, I feel like I haven't really talked to you in forever," I said. "How's the wedding planning going?" "It's going," she said vaguely. "Have you picked a venue yet? Set a date." "We're working on it, Dad. It's complicated." "Well, I'd love to help. Maybe we could meet for lunch this weekend and talk about it." "He'll have to check my schedule," she said. "Can I call you back tomorrow?" "Of course, honey. I love you." "Love you too, Dad." That night, I pulled out the box from the top shelf of my closet. Inside were photos from my wedding to Sarah. Her dress had been simple, nothing fancy, but she'd looked like an angel. We'd gotten married at the Methodist church downtown, with 60 people in attendance. The reception was at the VFW hall, punch and cake and dancing to records. We couldn't afford anything elaborate, but it had been perfect because everyone who mattered was there. I imagined walking Emma down the aisle. I imagined her in a white dress, radiant and happy. I imagined giving her away to Jason, even though I still had reservations about him. If Emma loved him, that was enough for me. I pulled out my good suit from the back of the closet. The charcoal gray one I'd bought for Sarah's funeral. I hadn't worn it since. I held it up, checking to see if it still fit, if it needed alterations. I wanted to look good for my daughter's wedding. I wanted to make Sarah proud. The next morning, Tuesday morning, Emma called. I was so happy to hear from her. We chatted about the weather, about my garden, about nothing important. Then I asked the question that changed everything. "So, honey, have you and Jason set a date yet?" Her laugh was light, almost carefree. "Oh, Dad, we got married yesterday." I thought she was joking. I actually chuckled. "Very funny, Em." "No, seriously. We did it. We had the ceremony at Jason's parents' vineyard in Napa Valley. It was absolutely beautiful." My smile faded. "Wait, what? Yesterday?" But I didn't know anything about it. "Yeah, we decided to keep it really small, really intimate, just for special people, you know, Jason's family, a few close friends. It was perfect, Dad. You should have seen it. Special people." The words echoed in my head. I wasn't special enough to be there. I wasn't important enough to witness my own daughter's wedding. "Emma, I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me?" "Dad, don't make this weird. It was our day, our choice. We wanted something simple and drama-free. Drama-free. Like I would have caused drama. But I'm your father. I raised you. I thought I'd walk you down the aisle. Dad, please, I really have to go. I just wanted to let you know. He'll talk to you soon, okay? Emma, wait. We need to talk about this. But the line was already dead. Shed hung up. I stood in my kitchen, the morning sun streaming through the window, and I felt my legs go weak. I sat down hard in one of the kitchen chairs, the same chairs Sarah and I had picked out at a yard sale 20 years ago. The phone was still in my hand. I looked at it, half expecting it to ring again, half expecting Emma to call back laughing and say it was all a misunderstanding. But it didn't ring. I looked around my kitchen. There on the refrigerator was a photo of Emma at her college graduation. Me, standing beside her in my best shirt and tie, both of us grinning at the camera. There was another photo of her at age 5, missing her front teeth, holding up a drawing Shed made for me at school. Another of her and Sarah baking cookies together the Christmas before Sarah got sick. My daughter had gotten married without me. Shed excluded me from one of the most important days of her life. And Shed acted like it was no big deal, like I should just accept it and move on. I sat at that kitchen table for 2 hours, not moving, not thinking clearly, just feeling a pain in my chest that rivaled the pain I'd felt when Sarah died. This was different, though. Sarah hadn't chosen to leave me. Cancer had taken her, but Emma had chosen this. Shed deliberately excluded me and called it intimate, called it special, for special people only. And apparently, I wasn't special enough. I called Emma back 3 times that afternoon. Each call went straight to voicemail. I left messages, trying to keep my voice steady, trying not to sound angry or hurt, even though I was both. Honey, it's Dad. I'm still pretty confused about this morning. Can you please call me back? I just want to understand. No response. By evening, I couldn't take the silence anymore. I sent her a text message, typing and retyping it 5 times before hitting send. Emma, I'm confused and hurt. I thought it'd be part of your wedding. Can we please talk about this? 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Dad, I knew you'd overreact. It was our day, our choice. Please respect that. Overreact? I read the message 10 times. I was her father. Shed gotten married without telling me. And I was overreacting. I typed back, I'm not overreacting. I'm hurt. You're my daughter. I had a right to be there. My brother Frank was supposed to come over that evening for our regular Tuesday poker night. We'd been playing cards every Tuesday for 15 years, ever since Sarah died, and had decided I needed regular company. Frank is 3 years older than me, a retired electrician who lives 2 streets over with his wife Martha. When he arrived at 7, I was still sitting at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. Stuart, you okay? He set down the case of beer he'd brought. I told him everything, every word of the phone call. Emma's casual tone. The way Shed said special people like it was perfectly normal to exclude her father from her wedding. Frank's face turned red. Hess always had a temper, but he keeps it in check most of the time. Not that night. She didn't invite you? To her own wedding? That's insane, Stuart. That's absolutely insane. Maybe she had her reasons, I said weakly, still trying to defend her. What possible reason excludes your own father? The man who raised her alone after Sarah died? The man who sold his cars to pay for her college? What reason justifies that? I didn't have an answer. Frank paced my kitchen. Did you two have a fight? Did something happen that would make her not want you there? No. Nothing. We've been fine. Distant lately, but fine. Then what the hell is wrong with her? We didn't play poker that night. Frank stayed until midnight, mostly just sitting with me, occasionally muttering angry things about Emma that I appreciated, even though they made me feel worse. When he finally left, he hugged me at the door. Something he rarely did. You're a good man, Stuart. A good father. Don't let her make you think otherwise. But lying in bed that night, I couldn't help but wonder, Had I done something wrong? Had I failed her somehow? I replayed our recent conversations in my mind, searching for clues, for some moment where Id said the wrong thing or disappointed her. I came up empty. The next day, Wednesday, news started spreading through town. Small towns are like that. Somebody tells somebody who tells somebody else, and soon everyone knows your business. Mrs. Patterson from next door came over in the afternoon with a tuna casserole. "Stuart, I heard about Emma. I just can't believe it. That sweet girl." She set the casserole on my counter. "I'm so sorry, honey." "Thanks, Dorothy. If you need anything at all, you just come knock on my door." Thursday, my former colleague Greg called. We'd taught together for 20 years before he retired last year. "Stuart, I ran into Frank at the hardware store. He told me what happened. I'm sorry, buddy. That's rough." "Thanks, Greg. The Emma I knew wouldn't do something like that. She was always such a thoughtful kid. You sure there's not some misunderstanding?" "I wish there was." Friday night, unable to sleep, I made a mistake. I looked at social media. I'd mostly stopped using it after Sarah died, but I still had an account. I logged in and searched for Emma's page. There they were. Wedding photos. Professional ones. Dozens of them. Emma in a stunning white gown, form-fitting with lace sleeves, her hair swept up in an elegant bun. Jason in a black tuxedo. They were standing in a vineyard. Rows of grapevines stretching behind them. Golden California sunlight making everything glow. There were photos of them cutting a massive 3-tier cake. Photos of them dancing under string lights. Photos of them laughing with guests. I scrolled through every image, my heart breaking with each one. This wasn't some tiny, intimate gathering. There were at least 50 people in those photos. Jason's parents, clearly wealthy based on the setting and their clothes. Jason's siblings. Jason's friends. Emma's college roommate Beth was there in a bridesmaid dress. Her friend Courtney from work was there. Even some of Emma's cousins on Sarah's side of the family were there. But not me. I kept scrolling and then I saw him. Dave Martinez. Emma's godfather, my best friend from my teaching days. Dave and I had coached soccer together, gone fishing together, celebrated holidays together. He was in multiple photos, smiling in his suit, holding up a glass of champagne and a toast. Dave had been invited, but I hadn't. I called him immediately, not caring that it was past 11 at night. "Stuart," he answered on the third ring, his voice thick with sleep. "You were there," I said. "At Emma's wedding." Silence. "Dave, you were there and you didn't tell me." "Stuart, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you, I swear I did. But Emma made everyone promise not to say anything." "Why? Why didn't you tell me anyway?" He sighed heavily. "She said you two had a falling out. She said you didn't approve of Jason and that you told her you wouldn't come to the wedding even if you were invited." "That's a lie. I never said anything like that." "I know that now," Dave said quietly. "I felt something was off the whole time I was there. It didn't feel right, you not being there. But Jason's family had paid for everything, and Emma insisted it was her decision as the bride. I felt trapped, Stuart. I'm sorry. Who else was there that I know? Some of Sarah's family. Your cousin Linda and her husband. Emma's old roommate Beth. A bunch of Jason's people I didn't know. How many people total? At least 50. Maybe 60. So Shed lied about that too. It wasn't some tiny gathering. It was a full wedding with dozens of guests. Shed just made sure I wasn't one of them. "Dave, did she say anything else about me?" He hesitated. "Dave, please. She told Jason's family that you were unstable, that you'd been having some problems since Sarah died, and that you might cause a scene." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Unstable. I'd grieved my wife, yes. Who wouldn't? But I'd never been unstable. I'd held down my job, raised my daughter, kept my life together, and Shed told people I might cause a scene. "That's not true," I whispered. I know it's not. I told Jason's mother you were the most stable, reliable person I knew, but Emma had already planted the seed. After I hung up with Dave, I sat on my couch in the dark. It was almost midnight. My daughter hadn't just excluded me from her wedding. Shed lied about me to justify it. Shed made me the bad guy in her story so she wouldn't have to feel guilty. I thought about all the years I'd spent raising her. The nights I stayed up helping with homework. The times I worked double shifts so she could go on school trips. The way I'd learned to braid her hair after Sarah died because Emma wanted her hair braided for school pictures. The way I'd driven her to soccer practice at 6 in the morning, 3 days a week for 5 years. The way I'd celebrated every achievement, comforted every disappointment, showed up for every single thing that mattered to her. And this is how she repaid me, not just by excluding me, but by lying about me. I looked at the photos on my mantle. Emma, at age 8, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up the trophy from her first soccer tournament. Emma, at 16, radiant despite her grief, at her mother's funeral. Emma, at 22, tossing her graduation cap in the air. When had I lost her? When had I become someone she was ashamed of? Someone she could dismiss as unstable and unimportant? I didn't sleep that night. I watched the sun come up over my backyard, the same backyard where Id taught Emma to catch a baseball, where Wed planted a vegetable garden every spring, where Wed scattered some of Sarah's ashes under the oak tree Shed loved. Everything I'd done had been for Emma, and Shed thrown it away like I meant nothing at all. The next week passed in a blur of grief and anger. I went through the motions of daily life, but nothing felt real. I'd wake up and forget for a moment what had happened, then remember and feel the weight settle on my chest again. Frank came by every day, sometimes just to sit with me, sometimes to rant about Emma's behavior. Martha brought me meals. Mrs. Patterson checked on me, but nothing helped the hollow feeling inside. I tried calling Emma twice more. Both calls went to voicemail. I didn't leave messages. What was there to say? Then, exactly 1 week after Shed first called to tell me about the wedding, my phone rang. Emma's name appeared on the screen. My heart jumped. Maybe Shed realized what Shed done. Maybe she was calling to apologize. I answered on the second ring. Emma. Hi, Dad. Her voice was bright, cheerful, like nothing had happened. How are you? The casual greeting stunned me. Emma, we need to talk about what happened. Dad, can we not do this again? Her tone shifted, becoming irritated. I already explained. It was our choice. You didn't explain anything. You just excluded me. Look, I didn't call to argue. She sighed heavily. Can we please just move forward, like it was that simple? Emma, I'm your father. You got married without me there. You lied to people about me. Don't you understand how much that hurt? Dad, stop being so dramatic. Lots of people have small weddings. It's not personal, not personal. My daughter getting married was not personal to me, her father. Then what was it? I asked. Why did you exclude me specifically? I don't want to get into this right now. Her voice took on an edge. That's not why I called. Then why did you call? So, did you transfer it? I pulled the phone away from my ear and looked at it, confused. Transfer what? The money, for the wedding gift. Did you send it yet? I stood up from my chair, pacing my living room. You want me to give you money for a wedding I wasn't invited to? God. Dad. Don't be petty. Parents give wedding gifts. That's what you do. Petty. I was being petty for being hurt that my daughter excluded me from her wedding but still wanted my money. Emma, I don't understand. You excluded me from your wedding, you lied about me to Jason's family, and now you're calling asking for money. It's not asking. Dad. It's expected. Jason and I are putting a down payment on a house. We could really use your contribution. Contribution. Like it was my obligation. How much are you expecting? I asked, my voice flat. Well, Jason's parents gave us $50,000. The number knocked the wind out of me. $50,000. My entire yearly pension was $32,000. Obviously, we don't expect that much from you, Emma continued, her tone almost condescending. But Jason and I were thinking $20,000 would be fair. $20,000. I sat down hard on the couch. Emma, I don't have that kind of money. Dad, you own your house outright. You could take out a home equity loan. It would be easy. She wanted me to go into debt, to borrow against my house, the house Sarah and I had worked for decades to pay off, the house that was supposed to be my security in retirement. Even if I had the money, I said slowly, why would I give it to you after you excluded me from your wedding? Because I'm your daughter. Her voice rose. This is what parents do. They help their children. Parents also get invited to their children's weddings. Emma, oh my God. Are you really going to hold that over me? Are you seriously that petty? There was that word again. Petty. It's not petty to be hurt, Emma. It's not petty to expect to be treated with basic respect. You know what? Her voice turned cold. I knew you'd be like this. Jason said you'd probably be cheap about it, and he was right. Cheap. My daughter, whom he'd given everything to, called me cheap. I felt something break inside me, some last fragile hope that maybe she didn't understand what she was doing, that maybe she was just thoughtless rather than cruel. But no, she knew exactly what she was doing. I worked 2 jobs to put you through college, I said quietly. I sold everything valuable I owned to pay for your graduate school. I gave you everything I had to give, Emma. And you call me cheap. That was your job, Dad. You're supposed to support your kids. You don't get extra credit for doing what you're supposed to do. My job. Raising her, loving her, sacrificing for her. That was just my job. And now that job was over. But I was still supposed to keep giving. Emma, I need you to listen to me very carefully, I said, my voice shaking. I gave you everything because I loved you. Because you were my daughter and I wanted you to have a good life. But you don't get to treat me like I'm disposable and still expect me to fund your life. God, you're being so dramatic, she said. It's just money, Dad. It's not about the money. It's about you excluding me from your wedding and then having the nerve to ask me to pay for it. I didn't exclude you. I made a choice about my wedding. My wedding, Dad. Mine and Jason's. Not yours. But you want my money. That's different. How? How is it different? She was quiet for a moment. Then, her voice tight with anger, she said what I think Shed'd been thinking all along. You want to know why I didn't invite you, Dad? You really want to know? Yes, because Jason's family paid for everything. His parents hosted it at their vineyard. They invited their friends, their family. They wanted certain people there, and they were paying for it. There were 60 people there, Emma. You're telling me there wasn't room for your father. Jason's mother didn't want you there. Okay. The words came out in a rush. She thought it would be awkward having you there without Mom. She said it would make the photos unbalanced, having a single parent on one side. And honestly, Dad, Jason's family is important to our future. They have connections, money, resources. I had to make a choice. There it was. The truth. Shed chosen Jason's wealthy family over me because I didn't have enough to offer her, so you chose them over me, I said. I chose my marriage, my future. Maybe if you weren't so ordinary, if you had more to offer, it would have been different. Ordinary. The word hung in the air between us. I thought about my life. 37 years teaching history to high school students. Living in the same modest house, in the same small town, driving a 15-year-old sedan, wearing clothes from Target, being ordinary. I thought about Sarah and how we'd built a life together on 2 modest incomes. How we'd been happy in our ordinary house with our ordinary cars and our ordinary vacations to state parks. How Wed thought that was enough, but it wasn't enough for Emma. Not anymore. "Goodbye, Emma," I said quietly. "Dad, wait. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant that Jason's family." I hung up. For the first time in her life, I hung up on my daughter. The phone rang again immediately. Emma calling back. I didn't answer. It rang 3 more times over the next hour. I didn't answer any of them. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of whiskey, something I rarely drank. Frank had left it here weeks ago. I poured 2 fingers and sat staring at the amber liquid. My daughter thought I was ordinary. She thought I wasn't good enough for her new life. Shed excluded me from her wedding because her wealthy future mother-in-law thought it'd make the photos look unbalanced. And despite all that, she still thought she deserved my money. I thought about that $20,000 she wanted. I had $9,000 in savings. I had about $40,000 in a retirement investment account I couldn't touch without penalties until I was 65. I had my house, worth maybe $300,000 if I sold it. I had my pension, $2,700 a month. That was it. That was my entire financial life. She wanted me to borrow $20,000 against my house, to go into debt, to risk my security in retirement. For a wedding I wasn't invited to. For a down payment on a house I'd probably never be invited to visit. I drank the whiskey. It burned going down, but I barely noticed. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Dad, I'm sorry I said that. I was stressed. Please don't be mad. We really do need help with the house, though. Can we talk?" I set the phone face down on the table and poured another drink. I didn't respond to Emma's text that night or the next day. By Sunday evening, Shed sent 4 more messages, each one shifting between apologetic and demanding. I read them all, but didn't reply. Monday morning, Frank showed up at my door at 8 o'clock. He had 2 cups of coffee from the diner and a serious look on his face. "We need to talk," he said, walking past me into the house. We sat at the kitchen table. Frank pushed one of the coffees toward me. "Martha and I were talking last night," he began. "About Emma, about the money she's asking for, about everything. And Martha reminded me of something I'd completely forgotten about." "What's that?" "After Sarah died, didn't you put Emma on some of your accounts?" My stomach dropped. I had. I'd completely forgotten. The lawyer suggested it. I said slowly, the memory coming back. "He said I should add Emma to my bank accounts and make her beneficiary on everything, just in case something happened to me. You need to check those accounts, Stewart. Right now." We drove to First National Bank downtown. I asked to see my account statements going back 6 months. The teller printed them out, a stack of papers that filled me with dread before I even looked at them. My main checking account was fine, but my savings account told a different story. 6 months ago, the balance had been $18,000. Money I'd saved carefully over years, putting away $100 here, $200 there. It was my emergency fund, my cushion, my security. The current balance was $9,000. I went through the statement line by line. There were withdrawals, 8 of them over the past 3 months. 1,000 here, 1,500 there, 2,000, another 1,000, all from ATMs in Columbus, where Emma lived. She'd been taking my money without asking, without even telling me. That little. Frank caught himself, glancing at the teller who was pretending not to listen. "Stewart, what else does she have access to?" We went home and I went through every financial document I had. The picture that emerged made me sick. Emma was on my checking and savings accounts, with full access. She was the beneficiary on my life insurance policy, $200,000. She was listed as joint owner on my investment account, another $40,000. When I died, she'd inherit my house, worth about $300,000. If something happened to me tomorrow, Emma would get over $500,000. "She's been planning this," Frank said, his voice hard. "She started taking money 3 months ago, right around the time she got engaged." I thought about the timeline. 3 months ago, Emma met Jason's wealthy family. 3 months ago, she started canceling our Sunday dinners. 3 months ago, she started withdrawing money from my account without asking. She sees you as a piggy bank, Frank continued. Not a father, a source of money. I wanted to argue, to defend her. The evidence was right there, in black and white. What do I do? I asked. You protect yourself. Today, right now. But I couldn't move. I sat there staring at the bank statements, thinking about the little girl who used to climb into my lap and ask me to read her stories. The teenager who cried in my arms when her mother died. The young woman who told me I was her rock. When had that girl disappeared? Or had she ever really existed? My phone rang. Jason's number. Don't answer it, Frank said. But I did. Maybe I wanted to hear what he had to say. Maybe I wanted to understand. Hey, Stuart, it's Jason. His voice was smooth, friendly. Listen, I know things got heated with Emma last week. Yes, they did. I want to apologize for my part in that. Emma can be emotional sometimes, says things she doesn't mean. But here's the thing. We really do need help with this house. It's a great opportunity, perfect location, great schools for when we have kids. Using future grandchildren as leverage. Nice touch. What if we structured this differently? Jason continued. What if instead of a gift, we made it a loan? We'd pay you back with interest. Everyone wins. I don't have $20,000 to loan, I said. But you have equity in your house, right? I work in finance, Stuart. I can help you get a great rate on a home equity line of credit. We're talking maybe 4%. You take out the loan the money to us. We pay you back monthly. Actually, we'd be paying you more than the interest on the loan, so you'd make money on the deal. I felt Frank's hand on my shoulder, squeezing hard. A warning. And here's the best part, Jason went on, his voice getting more enthusiastic. Once we're in the house, there's an in-law suite on the first floor. You could move in with us eventually. We'd take care of you. You wouldn't have to worry about anything in your old age. Move in with them. Let them take care of me. In the house he'd helped buy. The picture was clear now. They wanted my money now and my house later. They wanted everything. I need to think about it, I said, keeping my voice level. Sure, absolutely. But Stuart, the sellers want an answer by tomorrow. This house won't stay on the market. If we don't move fast, we'll lose it. Pressure tactics. Create urgency. Don't give me time to think. I'll call you when I decide, I said and hung up. Frank and I looked at each other. They're circling, he said. They know you're vulnerable and they're trying to take everything. She's my daughter. Is she? Because a daughter doesn't steal from her father. A daughter doesn't exclude her father from her wedding and then demand money. A daughter doesn't call her father ordinary and cheap. He was right. I knew he was right, but accepting it meant accepting that I'd lost my daughter, maybe forever. It meant accepting that the person I'd devoted my life to raising saw me as nothing more than a source of money. What do I do? I asked again. You go see Tom Bradley. Today, and you protect yourself before they take everything. Tom Bradley was an estate attorney in town. I'd met him at church occasionally, but never needed his services. Frank called him from my kitchen, explained the situation, and Tom agreed to see us that afternoon. Tom's office was in a converted Victorian house on Main Street. He was in his 50s, gray-haired and serious. He listened to everything I told him, looked over my documents, and his expression grew graver with each page. Stuart, he said finally, you need to make changes immediately. Your daughter has legal access to drain your bank accounts right now. She could empty them, and there's nothing you could do about it. But she wouldn't. She already has. $9,000. What's to stop her from taking the rest? I had no answer. Tom leaned forward. Here's what I recommend. Remove her from all accounts today. Open new accounts at a different bank if possible. Change your will. Change your beneficiary designations. Put everything in a trust if you want, with your brother as trustee. But get her hands off your money. That seems extreme. Is it? She's already taken $9,000 without asking. Her husband is pressuring you to take out a loan against your house. They've made it clear they see you as a source of money, not family. What happens if you don't give them what they want? What if they escalate? What do you mean, escalate? Tom hesitated, then said carefully, In my 30 years of practice, I've seen families do terrible things for money. I've seen children neglect elderly parents, isolate them, even harm them. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but the warning signs are there. Your daughter has distanced herself emotionally while maintaining financial access. That's a red flag. The room felt cold suddenly. You think Shed hurt me. I think she's already hurt you emotionally. I think she's stolen from you financially. I think her husband is trying to manipulate you into debt. I don't know what else they might do, but I don't think you should wait to find out. Frank nodded. Do it, Stuart. Protect yourself. As Tom's assistant started preparing the paperwork to remove Emma from my accounts and change my will, my phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Dad, Jason said you talked. This is really important to us. Please don't let us down. Don't let us down. Like I was the one failing her. Another buzz. Jason this time. Stuart, we found the perfect house. We're putting in an offer today. Need to know if we can count on you. Need to know if they could count on me. On my money. Another buzz. Emma, again. I've already told Jason's parents you're helping us. Please don't embarrass me. Shed already told them I was giving her money. Before even getting my agreement. Before asking. Really asking. Shed just assumed I'd comply. Tom looked up from his papers. Stuart, are you ready to sign these? I looked at the documents. A new will. Leaving my estate to charity. Beneficiary change forms for my life insurance and investment accounts. Naming my brother instead of Emma. Authorization to remove Emma from my bank accounts. Signing these felt like giving up on my daughter, like admitting I'd failed as a father. But not signing them meant letting her take everything. Meant going into debt for her. Meant spending my retirement years as an ATM machine, dispensing money until there was nothing left. I picked up the pen. Where do I sign? The paperwork took 2 hours. Tom was thorough, making sure everything was done correctly and legally. When we finished, Emma had no access to any of my accounts or assets. My will left everything to the county scholarship fund in Sarah's name. My life insurance and investments would go to Frank. My house had a payable on death deed naming Frank as well. If Emma wanted money from me now, she'd have to ask. And if something happened to me, she'd get nothing. Signing those papers felt like cutting off my own arm. This was my daughter, my only child, the person I'd devoted decades to raising. But Frank was right. Shed made her choices. Now, I was making mine. That night, I sat alone in my house, the new bank documents in front of me. My old accounts were closed. My money was safe in a new account at First Community Bank across town. Emma couldn't touch it. Over the next 2 days, my phone exploded with messages. Emma, Dad, we need an answer. The sellers are waiting. Jason. Stuart, I don't understand the problem. This is a simple business transaction. Why are you making it complicated? Emma. Dad, seriously, we need to know by tonight. We're going to lose this house. Jason. We found the perfect place. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1/4-acre lot in a great neighborhood. Your granddaughter could grow up there. Granddaughter. They didn't even have kids yet, and they were using them as leverage. Emma. Dad, you're being ridiculous. It's just a loan. Why are you doing this? Jason. Emma is really hurt by your silence. Is this how you treat your daughter? After everything she's done for you? After everything Shed done for me? I nearly threw my phone across the room. More messages came. Emma. If you don't care about my happiness, I guess I know where I stand. Jason. This is disappointing, Stuart. I thought you were a man of your word. I never gave my word. I never agreed to anything. Emma. You know what? Forget it. We don't need you. Jason's parents will help us. Good, I thought. Let them. But the messages didn't stop. Emma. I can't believe you're abandoning me like this. Jason. Emma has been taking care of you emotionally for years. The least you could do is help her now. Taking care of me? It'd been taking care of her. I raised her alone after Sarah died. Then came the email. Long, detailed, manipulative. Dad, I need you to understand something. I'm sorry about what I said on the phone. I was stressed from the wedding, from work, from everything. I didn't mean those things about you being ordinary. You're not ordinary, Dad. You're wonderful. You raised me, supported me, loved me. I know that. But this house, Dad, it's important. It's not just about Jason and me. It's about our future family. It's in the best school district in Columbus. It's close to Jason's work. It's where we want to raise our children. Your grandchildren, Dad. Don't you want to help give them a good start in life? I know 20,000 is a lot. I know it's a sacrifice. But you've always sacrificed for me. That's what parents do. That's what you taught me. You said family comes first. Well, I'm your family. I'm asking you to help me. I've already told Jason's parents you're contributing. They're expecting it. They're planning on it. Please don't embarrass me in front of them. They're important people, Dad. Richard owns multiple businesses. Helen sits on charity boards. They have connections that could help Jason's career, which helps our family. I need you to do this. Please, Dad. Please don't let me down. I read it 3 times. It was good. It hit all the emotional buttons. Family, grandchildren, not letting her down. It might have worked a week ago. But I'd learned something. Emma wasn't asking me to help her. She was demanding I fund her lifestyle. And when I didn't immediately comply, she'd gotten angry, then manipulative, then cruel. I deleted the email without responding. That evening, I tried calling Dave Martinez. I needed to talk to someone who knew Emma, who might help me understand how things had gone so wrong. Dave didn't answer. I left a message. An hour later, he called back. Stuart, I'm so sorry I didn't pick up. Martha told me what's been happening. Dave, I need to ask you something. At the wedding, did Emma seem happy? He was quiet for a moment. Honestly? She seemed stressed. She kept checking her phone. She snapped at the caterers a few times. I saw her arguing with Jason once, but they moved away so I couldn't hear what it was about. Did she mention me at all? Another pause. Yes. Jason's sister asked where you were. Emma said you couldn't make it, that you were traveling. Then she changed the subject really fast. Did you talk to her? I tried. I congratulated her, told her she looked beautiful. She thanked me but seemed distracted. Then Jason came over and kind of pulled her away. Very controlling, I guess is the word. He kept her close all night, like he didn't want her talking to people without him there. Something in Dave's tone caught my attention. What aren't you saying? Stuart, I don't want to make accusations. Dave, please. He sighed. Okay. I got a weird feeling from Jason. He was charming with his families, friends, the important people. But with the wedding staff, with anyone he saw as beneath him, he was dismissive, almost mean. And the way he talked to Emma, it wasn't respectful. He interrupted her constantly. He corrected her in front of people. At one point, she started to tell a story about you, about when she was a kid, and he cut her off and said nobody wanted to hear about that. My hands tightened on the phone, and there was something else. Dave continued. I overheard Jason talking to his father. He said something about how Emma's financial situation was finally handled and that you were on board with the program. His father laughed and said something about how it's always easier when everyone cooperates. Financial situation handled. Me on board with the program. They'd been planning this. Jason and his family. They'd been planning to get money from me all along. Dave, thank you for telling me. Stuart, I should have said something earlier. I should have called you after the wedding. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. But after I hung up, I felt sick. Jason was manipulating Emma. Or maybe Emma was letting herself be manipulated because she wanted the lifestyle Jason's money could provide. Either way, I was just an ATM to them. My phone rang. Emma. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message, her voice breaking with fake tears. Dad, please. I don't understand why you're doing this. You're hurting me. You're hurting your daughter. Please, just call me back. We need to talk about this like adults. Adults. She wanted to talk like adults after calling me ordinary and cheap, after stealing $9,000 from my account, after excluding me from her wedding. I didn't call back. The next day, Frank came over with news. Had been doing some digging, calling old friends, asking questions. What Head learned was disturbing. Stuart. I talked to Beth, Emma's college roommate. Remember her? Yeah, she was at the wedding. Beth told me something. She said Emma's been complaining about you for years, saying you were too poor, too simple, too embarrassing. After you visited Emma at college once, Emma told Beth she wished you'd stop coming because her wealthy friend's parents made you look bad. Each word was a knife in my chest. Frank continued. And Beth said Emma's been in financial trouble for a while. Credit card debt, living beyond her means. Beth thinks Jason's family money was a big part of why Emma wanted to marry him so fast. You think she married him for money? I think she married him for the lifestyle. And I think they both see you as a way to fund that lifestyle. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Dave and Frank had told me, about Jason's controlling behavior, about Emma's long-term embarrassment over me, about the manipulation, the lies, the theft. At 2 a.m, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stuart, this is Richard Harper, Jason's father. I need to speak with you. It's important. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Jason's father wanted to talk to me. That couldn't be good. I waited until morning, then called the number. Richard answered immediately. Stuart, thank you for calling. I apologize for reaching out so late last night. What can I do for you, Richard? I need to tell you something, and I'm not sure how you'll take it. Emma told us you were traveling during the wedding, that you couldn't make it, but sent your blessing. We just learned from a mutual friend that's not true, that you weren't invited. I didn't say anything. Stuart, my wife and I are horrified. We would never have supported excluding you. That's not who we are. Emma lied to us about it. I appreciate you telling me. There's more. He sounded uncomfortable. Emma and Jason came to us yesterday asking for more money. Another $30,000. They said it was for furniture for the house they're buying. I thought you already gave them $50,000 for the house. We did. That's why we were confused. So I had our accountant look into their finances. Stuart, they have over $60,000 in credit card debt. The money we gave them for the house? They spent half on the wedding, half paying down debt. They never put it toward a house at all. Everything was a lie. The house they needed my money for didn't even exist. Or if it did, they'd already blown through the money they had. Richard, why are you telling me this? Because my wife and I feel responsible. We welcomed Emma into our family. We trusted her, but she's lied to us repeatedly, and we think she's lying to you too. She told us you were giving them $20,000. My accountant tells me that's more than half your yearly income. Stuart, don't do it. Protect yourself. I already have, I said quietly. Good, good. I'm sorry this happened. You seem like a decent man. You deserved better from your daughter." After we hung up, I sat holding the phone, processing everything. Emma and Jason were drowning in debt. They'd lied to his parents, lied to me, lied to everyone. The perfect life Emma wanted was built on credit cards and manipulation, and I'd almost fallen for it. I'd almost gone into debt for her. It almost sacrificed my security for her lies. My phone buzzed. Emma again. "Dad, Jason's parents just called us. I don't know what you told them, but they're pulling their support. We need that money from you now. It's not optional anymore. It's necessary. Please, Dad. Please don't do this to me." I looked at the message for a long time. Then I started typing. "Emma, you asked me if I transferred the money. I have an answer. Didn't I tell you? I gave it to someone special." I hit send. 3 seconds later, my phone rang. Emma calling. I answered. "What do you mean you gave it to someone? What are you talking about?" Her voice was panicked. "I gave my money to someone special. Just like you said, the wedding was for special people. My money goes to special people too. Dad, what did you do? What did you do with the money? To causes that matter. To anyone but you. That was my inheritance," she screamed. "Your inheritance? You mean my money that I earned? You know what I mean. That money was supposed to come to me eventually, like I was supposed to be at your wedding." She made a choking sound. "Dad, please. We really need this. Jason's parents cut us off. We're in trouble. We need help." "Then you should have thought about that before you called me ordinary and cheap, before you stole from my account, before you excluded me from the most important day of your life. I'll pay you back, I swear. Just please, we need $20,000. No. Dad. No, Emma. You made your choice. You chose Jason's wealthy family over me. You chose a lifestyle over your father. You chose lies and manipulation over love and respect. Now live with that choice. You're really going to do this? You're going to abandon me. I'm not abandoning you. I'm protecting myself from you." Her voice changed, became cold and vicious. "You'll regret this. When you're old and sick and alone, don't come crying to me. I won't be there. I know you won't. You've already made that clear. I'll contest your will. I'll sue you. That money is mine. There's nothing to contest. I've already changed everything. My will leaves everything to charity. You won't get a penny." Silence. Then, in a voice filled with venom, "I hate you. I wish you'd died instead of Mom." The words should have hurt. Maybe they did. But mostly I felt relief, because finally, the mask was completely off. I could see exactly who my daughter had become. "Goodbye, Emma." I hung up and immediately blocked her number. Then I blocked Jason's. Then I blocked every way they had of contacting me. And then I sat in my quiet house and let myself grieve. Not for the money, not for the wedding, but for the daughter I thought I had and the daughter I actually got. The next few days were strange. My phone was silent for the first time in weeks. No calls from Emma, no manipulative texts from Jason, just silence. Frank checked on me daily. "How are you holding up?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Some moments I feel relieved. Other moments I feel like the worst father in the world." "You're not. You know that, right? You did everything right. She's the one who failed you. But it didn't always feel that way. Late at night, I'd lie awake, wondering if I should have handled things differently. Maybe if I'd given her the money, we could have rebuilt our relationship. Maybe I was being too harsh. Then I'd remember her words. "I wish you died instead of Mom," and I'd know I'd made the right choice. On Friday, Mrs. Patterson knocked on my door with a concerned look. "Stuart, have you seen what Emma's posting online?" I hadn't. He'd stayed off social media since discovering the wedding photos. Mrs. Patterson showed me her phone. Emma had posted a long message about toxic parents and cutting off negativity. She talked about having to make hard choices for her mental health. She used phrases like emotional manipulation and financial control and setting boundaries. She never mentioned that Shed excluded me from her wedding or asked me for $20,000 or stolen from my account. She just painted herself as a victim breaking free from an oppressive parent. The comments were divided. Some people who knew me defended me. Stuart is one of the kindest men I know. There must be more to this story. But others, strangers who only knew Emma's version, supported her. Good for you. You deserve happiness. Toxic parents don't change. I handed the phone back to Mrs. Patterson. It is what it is. Aren't you going to respond? Defend yourself. What's the point? People who know me know the truth. People who don't know me will believe whatever they want to believe. But the posts did have an effect. My distant cousin Linda called. Angry. Stuart, how could you? Refusing to help Emma with her house? Trying to control her wedding? That's despicable. I didn't have the energy to explain. Goodbye, Linda. I hung up. A few of Sarah's relatives called with similar accusations. Emma had gotten to them first with her version of events. I stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. But not everyone believed Emma's story. On Saturday, Dave came over with a 12-pack of beer and a determined look. I owe you an apology, he said. A real one. I should have told you about the wedding immediately. I should have stood up for you. I was a coward. We sat on my back porch, drinking beer and watching the sunset. It felt good to have a friend there. Dave, I need to ask you something. At the wedding, you said Emma mentioned me once. What exactly did she say? He looked uncomfortable. Are you sure you want to know? Yes. Okay. He took a long drink. She was giving her toast during dinner. She thanked Jason's parents for hosting. Thanked everyone for coming. Then she said something like, Jason's family has shown me what a real family looks like. The kind of family that supports each other, that celebrates together, that builds each other up. I'm so grateful to be part of something so special. Each word was a slap. Jason's sister asked me afterward, what about Emma's family? Where are they? I told her you existed, that you'd raised Emma alone. She seemed confused, like Emma had given the impression she didn't have any family on her side. So Emma hadn't just excluded me. She'd erased me, pretended I didn't exist, or worse, implied that I wasn't worth mentioning. There's something else, Dave said. I saw Emma talking to her college roommate Beth at the wedding. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard Emma say something like, I'm finally free to be who I really am. Beth asked what she meant, and Emma said, I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to be the grateful daughter of the poor teacher. I can just be Emma Harper, wife of Jason Harper. She sounded relieved. Stuart, like being your daughter was a burden Shed finally put down. I stared out at my yard, at the garden Sarah and I had planted 20 years ago, at the old oak tree where Wed scattered some of her ashes. I failed her, I said quietly. Somewhere along the way, I failed to teach her what matters. I taught her to work hard, to be kind, to value education. But I failed to teach her that money isn't everything, that character matters more than wealth, that loyalty and love are worth more than status. No, Dave's voice was firm. You taught her all of that. She just chose not to listen. That's not on you, Stuart. That's on her. Sunday morning, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello, Mr. Stewart? This is Beth Collins. I was Emma's roommate in college. I remember you, Beth. I need to talk to you about Emma. Can I come see you? An hour later, Beth was sitting in my living room. She was 28, dressed casually, and looked nervous. Thank you for seeing me, she said. I've been struggling with whether to reach out. Emma's my friend, but what she's doing isn't right. What is she doing? She's telling people you're abusive, that you controlled her financially, emotionally, that you tried to stop her from marrying Jason. None of that's true, is it? No, Beth nodded. I didn't think so. I met you once when you visited campus. You seemed kind and proud of Emma. But Emma's been rewriting history. She's telling everyone you were terrible to her growing up. Why are you telling me this? Because it's not fair, and because I think you should know what Emma's really like. Beth took a deep breath. In college, Emma was always embarrassed about money. When other girls' parents visited, they'd take everyone out to nice restaurants. When you visited, you took us to a diner. Emma complained about it for weeks after. She said you were cheap and didn't care how you made her look. I took you to a diner because I couldn't afford anything else. I was paying her tuition. I know. I figured that out later. But Emma didn't see it that way. She saw other girls with wealthy parents, and she was jealous. She started dating guys based on their family's money. She dropped one boyfriend because his parents were teachers like you. She said she needed to date up. Date up. Like relationships were about social climbing. When she met Jason, she was thrilled, Beth continued. She called me and said, I finally found someone from the right kind of family. Not I love him or he makes me happy. Just that he was from the right kind of family. Did she ever love him? Beth hesitated. I think she loves what he represents. The money, the status, the lifestyle. Whether she loves him as a person, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think Emma knows either. Why are you telling me all this? Because Emma's posting horrible things about you online. Because she's turned people against you with lies. Because you deserve to know the truth. You were a good father to her, Mr. Stewart. You gave her everything. It's not your fault she wanted more. After Beth left, I felt both validated and heartbroken. Validated because someone confirmed I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't been a terrible father. Heartbroken because it meant Emma's betrayal was even deeper than Id thought. She'd been ashamed of me for years, maybe always. That afternoon, Frank came over with more news. He looked angry. I just got off the phone with Tom Bradley. Emma tried to access your accounts yesterday. She went to First National and claimed she needed to make a withdrawal for you, some emergency. They told her she wasn't on the accounts anymore. She demanded to speak to a manager, caused a scene. What did they tell her? That account access is confidential, but she knows now that you removed her. And she's pissed. Good, Stewart. Tom thinks you should file a police report about the $9,000 she took. No. I'm not sending my daughter to jail. She stole from you. I know. But I can't do that, Frank. I just can't. He shook his head, but didn't push it. Fine. But be careful. She's desperate now. Desperate people do unpredictable things. That night, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. It was Emma, using a new account since Id blocked her old one. Dad, I'm sorry. For everything. For what I said. For how I acted. I was wrong. I got caught up in Jason's world, and I lost myself. Please, can we talk? Can we fix this? I miss you. I miss our Sunday dinners. I miss my dad. Please don't give up on me. I read it 5 times. It sounded sincere. It hit all the right notes. But Id learned something over the past few weeks. Emma was good at saying what people wanted to hear. She was good at manipulation. The question was whether this apology was real or just another attempt to get money. I didn't respond that night. I needed time to think. The next day, I got a call from someone I never expected. Richard Harper, Jason's father. Stewart, I hope I'm not overstepping. I wanted you to know that we've cut Jason and Emma off completely. No more money. We told them they need to figure out their finances on their own. Why are you telling me? Because they're going to come at you harder now. They're desperate. They have debt collectors calling. They're about to lose their apartment. They need money, and you're their last option. I'm not giving them anything. Good. Don't, but be prepared. Jason can be persuasive, and when persuasion doesn't work, he can be mean. Are you warning me about your son? Richard was quiet for a moment. I'm warning you about what my son has become. His mother and I gave him too much, made life too easy. He expects everything to be handed to him. When it's not, he gets angry. Just be careful. After we hung up, I felt uneasy. Richard was warning me to be careful of his own son. What did that mean? I found out 2 days later. I came home from grocery shopping to find my front door slightly open. I was sure Id locked it. I pushed it open carefully. Hello, Jason was sitting on my couch. In my living room, uninvited. How did you get in here? I demanded. Emma still has her old key. From when she lived here. I'd forgotten about that key. Stupid. You need to leave. Now. Jason stood up slowly. He was bigger than me, younger, stronger. Not until we talk, Stuart. There's nothing to talk about. Get out of my house. You've made things very difficult for us. Emma's a mess. She cries every day. Her own father abandoned her. I didn't abandon her. I protected myself from her. Jason stepped closer. That $9,000 you claim she took? She says you gave it to her. You told her to use it for the wedding. That's a lie. Can you prove it? Because I think if this went to court, it would be your word against hers. Was he threatening me with a lawsuit? Jason, I want you to leave. Now. We need $20,000, Stuart. Actually, we need 30 now. Things have gotten more expensive, and you're going to give it to us. No, I'm not. He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. You know, you're getting older. 64, right? Anything could happen to an old man living alone. You could fall down those stairs. You could have a health emergency with nobody around to help. My blood ran cold. Was he threatening me physically? Are you threatening me? I'm just pointing out that you should really think about taking care of your family, because family is all you have in the end. And if your family isn't there when you need them, well, that's a lonely way to live. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling the police. Jason's smile disappeared. You don't want to do that. Yes, I do. You broke into my house. You're threatening me. I'm calling the police right now. He stared at me for a long moment, then shook his head. You're making a huge mistake, old man. Emma's going to be heartbroken when she finds out her father chose the cops over his own daughter. Emma made her choice when she excluded me from her wedding. Now get out before I have you arrested. I dialed 911. Jason walked to the door, but before leaving, he turned back. You're going to regret this, Stuart. I promise you that. Then he was gone. The police came. I gave a statement. They took photos of my open door. They said they'd file a report for breaking and entering, but since nothing was stolen, there wasn't much they could do. They suggested I change my locks. After they left, I called Frank. He came right over with Martha. They stayed with me until the locksmith came and changed all the locks. Frank wanted me to stay at their house, but I refused. This is my home. I'm not letting them drive me out of it. That night, lying in bed in my now secured house, I realized something. This wasn't going to end. Emma and Jason were desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. They'd keep coming at me, keep trying to manipulate or intimidate me into giving them money. I had two choices. I could give them what they wanted and live under their control forever, or I could stand my ground and accept that I'd lost my daughter. I chose myself. The next morning, I called Tom Bradley again. Tom, I need a restraining order. Against Emma and Jason both. 3 months have passed since I filed that restraining order. 3 months since Jason broke into my house. 3 months since I last spoke to my daughter. The restraining order was granted easily once I showed the judge all the evidence. The theft from my account. The threatening text messages I'd saved. The police report from Jason's break-in. The judge seemed disturbed by the whole situation. "Mr. Stewart," she said, "in granting a 6-month protective order, your daughter and son-in-law are to have no contact with you, directly or through third parties. They are to stay at least 100 feet away from you and your property." Emma violated it once, showing up at my house 3 weeks later. She stood on the sidewalk, crying and begging me to talk to her. I called the police. They came and escorted her away. She got a warning. If it happened again, she'd be arrested. It didn't happen again. My life has changed in unexpected ways. I started volunteering at the Greenfield Community Center, teaching American history to adult learners getting their GEDs. Turns out there's a hunger for knowledge among people who didn't get to finish school the first time around. Teaching them reminds me why I became a teacher in the first place. I joined a woodworking club that meets Thursday evenings at the old mill building downtown. I'm building a bookshelf, my first project. It's not great, but I'm learning. The other guys in the club, most of them retired like me, have become friends. We grab beers after sometimes, talk about our projects, our lives. Nobody judges anybody. It's comfortable. Sunday dinners are different now. Frank and Martha come over, always. Dave and his wife Carol join us often. Sometimes other friends too. Mrs. Patterson from next door, Greg, and his wife Susan. Last Sunday we had 8 people around my table, laughing and eating and telling stories. The house feels full in a way it hasn't in years. I don't cry about Emma anymore. I went through that. Weeks of grieving, of second-guessing, of wondering what I could have done differently. I talked to a therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Helen, who helped me understand that I couldn't control Emma's choices. I could only control my own. Through mutual friends, I hear updates about Emma and Jason. Their marriage is struggling. The debt caught up with them. They had to file for bankruptcy. Emma lost her job after missing too many days. Jason's parents still refuse to help them financially. They're living in a small apartment in a rough part of Columbus, barely making ends meet. Part of me feels sad about that. She's still my daughter, and I don't wish suffering on her. But another part of me knows this is the consequence of her choices. She chose status over substance. She chose manipulation over honesty. She chose Jason's money over her father's love. Now she's living with those choices. 2 months ago, I got a letter. An actual handwritten letter, sent to my address. It was from Emma. "Dad, I know I have no right to ask anything of you. I know I hurt you in ways I'm only beginning to understand. I was wrong. About everything. About excluding you from the wedding. About taking your money. About calling you ordinary. You were never ordinary, Dad. You were extraordinary. You gave me everything, and I threw it away because I wanted more. I wanted the life Jason's family had. I wanted to be someone important. But I lost myself in that wanting. I lost the person you raised me to be. Jason and I are separated now. We're probably getting divorced. It turns out when the money runs out, there's not much left between us. His family was right to cut us off. Your friends were right to tell you to protect yourself. Everyone saw what I refused to see, that I was being manipulative and cruel. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything except maybe a chance, someday, to talk, to try to understand how I became someone I don't recognize, to maybe, if you're willing, start to rebuild some kind of relationship. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I've earned the right to ask, but I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm sorry. Your daughter, Emma. I read that letter 20 times. I showed it to Frank, to Dave, to Dr. Helen, Everyone had opinions. Frank, it's manipulation. She's lost Jason's money, so now she wants back in your life. Dave, maybe she's sincere. People can change. Dr. Helen, only you can decide if you're willing to risk trusting her again. But don't rush that decision. I didn't rush it. I thought about it for weeks, and then I wrote back. Emma, I got your letter. Thank you for the apology. I won't pretend it fixes everything, because it doesn't. Trust isn't rebuilt with words. It's rebuilt with actions, over time. But I'm willing to talk, not about money, not about what you need from me, but about how we got here and where we might go from here. If you're interested in family counseling, I'd be willing to try that, a neutral space where we can work through this with professional help. If you're serious about rebuilding a relationship, that's where we start. No promises beyond that. But it's a start, if you want it. She wrote back immediately, agreeing to counseling. We found a therapist in Columbus, Dr. Michael Patterson, who specializes in family reconciliation. We've been meeting once a week for the past month. It's hard. Emma keeps trying to justify her actions, to explain them away. I was under so much stress. Jason was controlling. I wasn't thinking clearly. Dr. Patterson doesn't let her get away with it. Emma, he said in our third session, you made choices. Own them. Don't explain them. Own them. That session, she finally broke down. Really broke down. I did terrible things to my father. I treated him like he was worthless. I stole from him. I excluded him from my wedding, and then had the nerve to ask him for money. I called him ordinary when he was the most extraordinary person in my life. I don't know how to fix that. You can't fix it, Doctor, Patterson said. You can only move forward from it. And moving forward means accepting that your relationship with your father may never be what it was. You broke something. Even if you glue it back together, the cracks will show. Emma looked at me. I don't expect you to forgive me. I forgave you a long time ago, I told her. Not because you earned it, but because holding on to anger was eating me alive. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean going back to how things were. It means I'm willing to see if we can build something new, something different, something honest. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'll do whatever it takes. Then start by being honest. No more lies. No more manipulation. No more pretending. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be real. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Emma has been different. She got a new job, nothing glamorous, working retail at a mall. She's living in a studio apartment, driving an old car, living within her means. She comes to Sunday dinner at my house now, brings groceries to contribute, helps cook and clean up. She doesn't ask for money. She doesn't expect special treatment. She shows up, does her part, and leaves. Last Sunday, we were washing dishes together, just the two of us in the kitchen while Frank and Martha sat in the living room. Emma was scrubbing a pot and I was drying plates. Dad, she said quietly. Yeah, thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She was wearing jeans and an old sweater. She looked young and tired and real. That's what real family does, I said. We don't give up. We just learn to love smarter. She smiled a little. I'm learning that. We're not fixed. We're not back to normal. I don't know if we ever will be. But we're trying, and that's something. I've learned a lot through this whole ordeal. I've learned that sometimes the people you love most will hurt you the deepest. They'll choose money over love, status over loyalty, comfort over character. I've learned that pain can be a teacher if you let it be. It taught me to value myself, to set boundaries, to understand that love without respect isn't really love at all. I could have given Emma that money. I could have gone into debt mortgaged my house, enabled her worst impulses, and she would have taken it, spent it, and come back for more. I wouldn't have gotten my daughter back. I would have just funded her mistakes and taught her that manipulation works. Instead, I let her fall. I let her face consequences, and in that falling, she's finding herself again. She's not the entitled woman who excluded me from her wedding. She's not the manipulator who tried to steal my retirement. She's becoming someone I might be able to respect again someday. I also learned I was never really alone. I had people who valued me, not for what I could give them, but for who I was. My brother Frank, who showed up every single day. My friend Dave, who eventually told me the truth, even though it was hard. My neighbors, my former colleagues, my students. That retired teacher Emma was embarrassed by had touched more lives than she ever knew. The greatest gift you can give someone isn't money or status or comfort. It's teaching them that actions have consequences, that character matters more than appearance, and that real love requires respect. Emma calls me now not because she needs something, but because she wants to talk. She asks about my woodworking projects, my volunteer teaching, my day. She tells me about her job, her therapy sessions, her attempts to rebuild her life. She sees me as a person now, not a resource. And that, more than any wedding I could have attended, is worth celebrating. Last week, I was sitting on my back porch with Frank and Dave. We were drinking beer and watching the sun set over my garden. Frank was complaining about his carburetor. Dave was telling a story about his grandson. And I was just listening and feeling content. "You seem happy," Dave observed. "Happier than I've seen you in months." "I am happy," I realized. And it was true. Despite everything that happened, despite losing my daughter for a while, despite the pain and betrayal and hurt, I was happy. Because I'd chosen myself. I'd chosen my dignity, my boundaries, my self-respect. I'd refused to be reduced to an ATM machine. I'd refused to let Emma's choices define my worth. And in choosing myself, I'd somehow found my way back to a life worth living. Emma showed up at my house yesterday, unannounced. I was in the garage, working on my bookshelf. She knocked on the open door. "Can I help?" she asked. I looked at her. She was in old clothes, hair messy, no makeup. She looked like the girl I used to know, before Jason and money and status changed her. "Sure," I said, handing her sandpaper. "You can help sand these boards." We worked in comfortable silence for an hour. When we finished, the boards were smooth and ready for assembly. Emma looked at them with satisfaction. "I forgot how good it feels to make something with your hands," she said. "It's honest work," I replied. "No shortcuts, no tricks, just effort and skill and patience." She nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. "I'm learning that. About life, I mean. That there are no shortcuts to anything worth having." We went inside. I made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Id sat in shock the day she told me about the wedding. But it felt different now. Lighter somehow. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why did you give me another chance?" After everything I did, I thought about it. Because underneath all the mistakes and bad choices, you're still my daughter. The little girl who used to climb into my lap and ask for stories. The teenager who cried in my arms when her mother died. You lost your way for a while. But I had to believe that girl was still in there somewhere. And I think maybe she is. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I'm trying to find her again. That girl you raised. I don't know if I can, but I'm trying. That's all I ask, that you try. She reached across the table and took my hand. Her hand was calloused now from working retail, from living a real life instead of a fantasy one. It felt genuine in a way her perfectly manicured hand never had. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, Emma." And for the first time in months, I believed we might actually be okay. "Now I want to ask you something." Have you ever had someone you love choose status or money over you? Have you ever had to set boundaries with family, even though it broke your heart? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, if it made you feel something, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about real life, real struggles, and real lessons learned. Share this with someone who might need to hear it, someone who's struggling with difficult family dynamics or learning to set boundaries. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you found something valuable in it, something that helps you navigate your own relationships with wisdom and courage. Remember, loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for them and for yourself, is to say no. Take care of yourselves out there. Value yourselves, and don't let anyone, not even family, treat you as less than your worth. Until next time, this is Stuart, reminding you that ordinary lives lived with dignity and love are actually extraordinary.